Have you ever wondered what lies behind the perfect smiles and dazzling lights of Hollywood? For decades, the world adored its stars, icons of music, film, fashion, and politics. But behind the red carpets and magazine covers, many carried a secret so heavy it consumed them. A disease that society once feared, silenced, and rejected. And when the truth surfaced, it shook the world to its core. These are the stories of legends who lived double lives, fighting fame, stigma, and the ticking clock of a disease that did not forgive. Rock Hudson, the idol who changed everything. Rock Hudson was the definition of an American leading man. Tall, handsome, and the ultimate symbol of masculinity in the 1952nd. Women adored him. Men wanted to be him. But what the world never knew was that Hudson's life off-screen was an entirely different movie. In private, Hudson hosted secret wild parties behind the high walls of his Beverly Hills mansion. Rumors swirled of drugs, late-night escapades, and whispered threats against anyone who tried to expose him. His agent even staged a fake marriage to protect Hudson's career. But no secret lasts forever. In 1984, Hudson was diagnosed with AIDS. A year later, frail and almost unrecognizable, he finally admitted the truth. It was the first time a major Hollywood figure publicly confirmed having the disease, and it changed America's perception overnight. Hudson's death, at 59, marked a turning point, forcing the world to face what it had tried to ignore. But while Hudson's revelation shocked the world, another actor's battle mirrored the role that made him famous. Anthony Perkins, the killer who lived in fear. Everyone remembers Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates in Psycho, a character trapped between appearances and hidden desires. But what audiences didn't know was how closely Perkins' real life mirrored his role. In the 1952nd, Perkins secretly dated fellow actor Tab Hunter, but Hollywood wasn't ready. They were forced to appear in public with women, attending movie premieres hand in hand with stage dates, while hiding their true relationship. The pressure to appear masculine was relentless. Perkins turned to conversion therapy, desperate to erase his true self. Later, he even married a woman, trying to bury the truth deeper. Then came the cruel twist. He learned he was HIV positive not from a doctor, but from a tabloid headline. By the time the world knew, it was too late. On the 12th of September, 1992, Anthony Perkins died from AIDS-related pneumonia. But tragedy followed his family even further. 9 years later, his wife was on the first plane that struck the World Trade Center on 9/11. A cruel chain of events that left his story etched in heartbreak. If Perkins died in silence, another legend chose to leave the world with one final performance. Freddie Mercury, the star who sang until the end. Freddie Mercury was pure electricity on stage. With his booming voice and magnetic presence, he could make an entire stadium pulse like a heartbeat. But behind the music, Freddie was slowly dying. Born Farrokh Bulsara, he lived in two worlds, one with Mary Austin, the woman he called his soulmate, and another with his hidden relationships and wild parties. His pain and secrets became fuel for his most powerful songs. In 1987, Freddie was diagnosed with HIV, yet he refused to stop creating. Even when too weak to stand, he recorded "The Show Must Go On," pouring his defiance into every note. On the 23rd of November, 1991, Freddie finally told the world he had AIDS. Just 24 hours later, he was gone. But his death wasn't silence, it was an exclamation mark. His music and his courage live on, immortalized through the Mercury Phoenix Trust. Freddie turned his farewell into art. But for some stars, their secrets never made it to the surface, until death revealed everything. Robert Reed, America's dad with a secret life. Millions knew Robert Reed as Mike Brady, the perfect television father from the Brady Bunch. Always smiling, always wise, always loving. But Reed's real life was far more complicated. Married briefly, he later confessed to his wife that he was gay. On set, he was demanding, often clashing with writers. Yet to the child actors, he was like a real father, caring, protective, and encouraging. What no one knew was that Reed was fighting two battles: advanced colon cancer and HIV. When he died in 1992, the official cause was listed as cancer. Only later did the truth come out. While Reed carried his secrets quietly, another star refused to hide even as millions watched him die on television. Pedro Zamora, the death televised. Pedro Zamora was just 17 when he learned he was HIV positive. Most people would have hidden. Pedro did the opposite. He went public. He turned his diagnosis into a mission, speaking at schools, appearing at conferences, and using his life as a weapon against stigma. In 1994, he joined The Real World, San Francisco. Suddenly, millions of Americans were watching not just a reality show, but the diary of a young man dying. Pedro showed what love looked like, even proposing to his boyfriend on camera, the first same-sex commitment ceremony broadcast nationwide. By the time the season ended, Pedro's body was failing. On the 11th of November, just hours after the finale aired, he passed away at 22. His life, his struggle, and his death were broadcast into living rooms across America. Pedro gave the disease a face, but in politics, others chose silence. Ed Koch, the mayor who never spoke his truth. "How am I doing?" That was Ed Koch's trademark phrase during his years as mayor of New York. A tough leader who pulled the city back from financial collapse. But when AIDS began ravaging the city, Koch's image cracked. Activists accused him of being too slow, too cautious, while thousands died. And behind the criticism lay persistent rumors. Koch himself was gay. He always denied it, saying, "My private life is my business." Only after his death in 2013 did friends confirm what many had suspected. To some, Koch was a hero. To others, a symbol of silence when the city needed a voice. And while Koch stayed quiet, one of America's most ruthless political players chose to deny everything, even when the truth was staring him in the face. Roy Cohn, the ruthless hypocrite. Roy Cohn was feared like few others in Washington. At just 23, he helped convict the Rosenbergs during the Red Scare. He became Joseph McCarthy's attack dog during the witch hunts, leading the purge of gay men from government jobs in what became known as the Lavender Scare. The irony? Cohn himself was surrounded by rumors of being gay, but he mocked others, hid behind denial, and wielded power with cruelty. When diagnosed with AIDS in 1984, he told the press he had liver cancer. Even in his final days, wasted and frail, he refused to admit the truth. He died in 1986 at 59. The man who persecuted others for being who they were, destroyed by the very disease tied to the community he condemned. Cohn's hypocrisy was staggering, but the king of New York nightlife would fall victim to the same fate. Steve Rubell, the king of Studio 54. Studio 54 was chaos wrapped in glitter. It was the temple of the 1,972nd drugs, sex, music, and fame, swirling together in one endless night. And Steve Rubell was its gatekeeper. Only the most beautiful, famous, or outrageous got inside. Warhol, Jagger, Minnelli, everyone was there. But in 1978, the lights went out. The IRS raided Studio 54, uncovering millions in hidden cash. Rubell went to prison. After his release, he tried to reinvent himself. But in the mid-82nd, Rubell was diagnosed with HIV. The official cause of his death was listed as hepatitis and septic shock. But everyone knew the truth. At 45, the man who had ruled nightlife was gone. And even young stars barely starting out weren't spared. Joel Crothers, the forgotten heartthrob. Joel Crothers was a familiar face on television, handsome, charming, and beloved on soap operas like Dark Shadows. To fans, he was the dream boyfriend. But his reality was different. Secretly gay, he staged an engagement to protect his career. When AIDS struck, Crothers disappeared from the screen. By 1985, he was gone at just 44. Unlike others, his death barely made headlines. His career and his truth were almost erased by stigma. But while Crothers faded quietly, another rising star died with the words, "I acted so well," as his final goodbye. Wade Dominguez, the star who burned too bright. Wade Dominguez had all the makings of a star. His breakout role in Dangerous Minds turned heads, and Hollywood was ready to embrace him. Then came the devastating diagnosis: AIDS. Too young, too talented, too soon. In his last days, his friend Elizabeth Berkley brought a rough cut of his final film to his hospital bed. Wade watched, tears streaming down his face, whispering, "I acted so well." On the 26th of August, 1998, Wade died at just 32, his potential gone forever, leaving Hollywood to wonder what might have been. And as one star's flame was extinguished, another man changed fashion forever before vanishing in silence. Willie Smith, fashion for the streets. Willie Smith wasn't just a designer, he was a revolutionary. With his brand WillieWear, he proved that fashion didn't belong only to the wealthy. He blurred the lines between high fashion and streetwear, shaping an entire generation's style. But behind the bold designs was a hidden battle. In 1987, at just 39, Smith died from an AIDS-related illness. His company concealed the cause, fearing stigma would destroy his brand. Yet, his legacy lives on, every time streetwear meets the runway. And while Smith died young, one beloved actor worked until his body gave out. Denholm Elliott, the gentleman of supporting roles. You may not know his name, but you've seen his face. Denholm Elliott stole scenes in Indiana Jones, Trading Places, and over 100 other films. He was the kind of actor who elevated everything he touched. But behind his characters, Elliott carried a secret. He was bisexual. In 1987, at the height of his career, he was diagnosed with HIV. He kept working, even as the illness weakened him. On the 6th of October, 1992, Elliott died at 70 from AIDS-related complications. His death shocked the British film world, and BAFTA created an award in his name. From the film set to the ice rink, AIDS spared no one. Andre Napella, the Ice Prince. Andre Napella's life began with a doctor's suggestion. Skating would help his asthma. What it created was a champion. Olympic gold, 5 European titles, 3 world championships. Napella was grace on ice. But his private life was filled with whispers, rumors of secret relationships with male skating partners. By 1989, his health collapsed. At just 38, Napella died in Germany, his official cause listed as lymphoma. But within the skating world, many believed AIDS had taken him. And if Napella died in silence, one Hollywood star refused to let the disease consume him slowly. Brad Davis, the actor who chose his ending. Brad Davis was magnetic. His role in Midnight Express made him a star overnight. He won a Golden Globe, became a sex symbol, and seemed unstoppable. But in 1985, Davis was diagnosed with AIDS. He told almost no one, continuing to work while secretly fighting the disease. Then, at just 41, Davis made a shocking decision. Rather than let the illness strip away his dignity, he chose assisted suicide. His wife later revealed the truth in her memoir, exposing the pain he carried in silence. While Davis took control of his end, others fought desperately to keep their secrets hidden. Liberace, Mr. Showmanship's final mask. Liberace was larger than life. His rhinestone capes, candelabra pianos, and dazzling shows made him a legend. But his greatest performance wasn't on stage, it was his denial. For decades, rumors swirled about his sexuality. When a newspaper hinted at the truth, he sued, swearing under oath that he wasn't gay. Behind closed doors, his secret relationships told another story. His lover, Scott Thorson, later revealed shocking details, including being pressured to undergo surgery to look like a young Liberace. In 1987, Liberace died. The official cause was heart failure, but the coroner revealed the truth: AIDS. Even in death, the mask had nearly stayed in place. And while Liberace built a palace of secrets, one man wrote Disney's most beloved songs from a hospital bed: Howard Ashman, Disney's hidden genius. If you've ever sung Under the Sea or Be Our Guest, you know Howard Ashman's genius. He gave Disney's Renaissance its voice, writing the lyrics that defined a generation. But at the height of his success, Ashman was diagnosed with HIV. He kept working, even from his hospital bed, a piano wheeled in so he and Alan Menken could keep creating. He poured his pain into his songs. The mob scene in Beauty and the Beast, a fearful crowd hunting the beast, was his metaphor for a society turning against those with AIDS. Ashman died at just 40. Disney quietly honored him in the credits. To our friend Howard, who gave a mermaid her voice and a beast his soul. And as Howard passed in silence, another artist had lived his entire life as an exile, leaping toward freedom until his final fall. Rudolf Nureyev, the dancer who defected. In 1961, Rudolf Nureyev made history. Surrounded by KGB agents at a Paris airport, he made a split-second choice: leap over the barrier and defect to the West. That leap turned him into ballet's brightest star. His performances with Margot Fonteyn redefined dance itself. Off stage, he lived as wildly as he danced. Lavish parties, powerful lovers, endless scandals. But by the late 1982, rumors spread. Nureyev had AIDS. Still, he continued to perform until his body could no longer keep up. On the 6th of January, 1993, Nureyev died at 54. The Paris Opera hung a massive black curtain in his honor. His final leap had been into eternity. From the stage to the screen, other stars carried their secrets just as heavily. Paul Shenar, Scarface's shadowed star. Paul Shenar might not be a household name, but his roles left impressions. As Alejandro Sosa in Scarface, he embodied charm and ruthlessness in equal measure. In real life, Shenar lived quietly, rumored to have had a relationship with actor Jeremy Brett, but Hollywood wasn't ready to accept the truth. Diagnosed with HIV in the 1982nd, Shenar kept working as long as he could. He died in 1989 at just 53. His career, like his truth, cut short by silence. And while Shenar faded, another artist chose to fight stigma with color, chalk, and walls. Keith Haring, the artist who drew against silence. Keith Haring turned subway walls into canvases. His chalk figures danced, cried, and shouted from every corner of New York. His art wasn't just vibrant, it was political. He attacked racism, inequality, and especially the silence around AIDS. In 1987, Haring himself tested positive. His art changed, sharper, darker, filled with warnings. Instead of hiding, he founded the Keith Haring Foundation to raise awareness and help those affected. On the 16th of February, 1990, Haring died at just 31. But his art still breathes life into walls across the world. And while Haring fought with art, another actor fought with humor until the very end. Steven Stucker, the comic who spoke out. Steven Stucker could make audiences laugh with just a glance. His role in Airplane remains unforgettable, a burst of comedic brilliance. But in 1984, Stucker received devastating news. He was HIV positive. Unlike others, he refused to stay silent. He went public, becoming one of the first actors to announce his diagnosis. With courage and humor, he challenged stigma head-on. But time wasn't on his side. By 1986, he was gone at just 38. His bravery, however, set him apart in a Hollywood filled with secrets. Conclusion. Behind the fame, the glamour, and the applause, these 20 stars carried secrets heavier than any award. Some lived in silence, some turned their final days into art, and some chose to fight openly. They remind us that fame doesn't erase fear, stigma, or pain. And they leave us with a haunting question. If you had to choose, would you live behind a mask to protect your fame, or reveal the truth and risk it all? Tell me in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what comes next.